Hello everyone, in this video we're going to be going everything all about the tropics, including covering the Eastern Pacific, Atlantic as it's awakening, and a quick look at Typhoon Shanshan currently impacting Japan and going to be continuing to impact Japan with major conditions. So let's get right into it. So starting off with imagery of Typhoon Shanshan, it was actually very strong. It was a major one. It peaked around a Cat 4 status. It has weakened, as you can see, also doesn't look as good as, for example, yesterday where it had an eye and everything. Now it's mainly kind of like a Cat 1 hurricane, or just a regular typhoon. Now, don't get me wrong, still bringing very impressive impacts. Convection continues to blow up right around the center, so southern Japan getting impacted heavily. And so, yeah, I mean, it looks pretty healthy. I mean, it is getting on land now, so it's going to start weakening, and the weakening is going to accelerate. But I mean, you have outflow, you have those high cloud tops, and you can see the low somewhere right in here. Okay, maybe that was a little too high. Somewhere right in here. And however, you do see that there's actually a lot more convection on the eastern side than there is on the western side because of dry air. And you can see that with um, satellite imagery, that dry air penetrating in through the southeastern side-ish, trying to affect the eastern convection as well. But overall, some dry air. But the main reason it's weakening and convection is starting to lose up is because of land interaction. But I mean, again, major flooding, heavy winds continue with Shanshan. However, it is starting to weaken, and thankfully, we'll head out relatively soon. Now, taking things closer to home, we have our eastern or central Pacific tropics right now. Three systems to take note of here: Tropical Storm Hone, Tropical Storm Gilma, and Tropical Storm Hector. Gilma was a very resilient storm. Okay, it kind of went from major hurricane week into a hurricane, and then re-strengthened back to a major hurricane, then went down back to a hurricane, and then almost I think peaked at around 115 mile per hour major strength again, before weakening down significantly to a tropical storm. It peaked around Cat 3 strength. We also have Tropical Storm Hone, which was actually a hurricane earlier. It is passing out and starting to fade away. It was impacting Hawaii, especially the main island, which had some pretty big impacts. Thankfully, Hone is heading out now. However, we do have Gilma. However, Gilma is entering very unfavorable conditions. Okay, we have much cooler waters, sheer and dry air, everything. So Gilma's really gonna start weakening once it gets to kind of like, honestly, like right here. Like right now, it's already starting to weaken, but especially once it gets into this zone, Gilma will really start to weaken down. So, and as it passes north of the island somewhere over here, it's going to be a depression. Okay, it's going to be a depression. So some little bit of choppy impacts possible, in terms of coastal impacts and indirect impacts, but nothing much. Hector, however, over here, actually, let's click on the track of Hector. As you can see, here, let's just go back. Hector is gonna almost be, it's kind of heading west right now, due west, okay, and it's just gonna start weakening into a depression and eventually dissipate. So Hector gonna dissipate, Gilma gonna head north and dissipate, and Hone as well heading north, northwest ish, and gonna dissipate. So overall, not much to talk about, but those are your impacts and stuff for the Central Pacific. We can go over to the Eastern Pacific, nothing for the next 7 days. Atlantic, however, we're finally starting to start back up with activity ever since Ernesto. We currently have our first disturbance 0% in the next 40 hours, 20% in the next 7 days. So we do have our X right here, so our disturbance is right here, around 37, 38 west. It's going to continue heading into a conducive environment and slowly but surely become better organized. And then where it goes after that is still a question. Lots keep it into the Caribbean. Some do bring it above. So it's something we're going to have to watch out for. It's still a big question mark on what's going to happen next with this system. But behind that, nothing much. But this is a system and something finally to track. If I had to give any areas to watch out for, I mean, you have the Greater Antilles already in the kind of shaded yellow. Overall, just saying that this disturbance could get close and bring some impact. So watch out over there in the Greater and Lesser Antilles. And yeah, areas of the Virgin Islands as well possible, but that would be a little bit outside. Alright, now officially let's get into our ensemble data. So switching back over to the Eastern Pacific, we've gotten 240 hours out, okay? Now you see this one right here, this is Gilma. Right here is Hector in this black, and then all the way on the far left side of your screen is Hone. So those are current storms, okay? Now we have our ensemble members over here in the pink. Not lots of support. I mean, you do have a small signal for something forming down here-ish, but overall it just becomes like a depression and then just almost just fades out, okay? It just almost fades out. One member or maybe two members have it peaking at a tropical storm, okay? You do have another signal here, a weaker one, but the members that do show signal have it stronger. It heads this way and some peak as a tropical storm, strong tropical storm, but no hurricane. But overall, you just take a look and you see, man, this is just super lame. There's not a lot of signals at all for the Eastern Pacific. So that's something we're gonna watch out for, or something to keep in mind as we are likely entering a quiet period for the Pacific. And I'll show you guys that in a bit. Switching gears over back to the Atlantic, and now this is the complete opposite. It's looking pretty active. First signal right here, okay, full 240 hours out, as you can see on the European. Lots being a really strong. I mean, you have this one memory in 938 millibar. That is ridiculous. That is Cat 5 almost, if not Cat 5, and that's crazy. But that's just one ensemble. But as you see, you have your disturbance right here. Signal increases. Overall, you would have a cone something like this. Something here. Let me redo it. Almost. That kind of looks like a mitten. Something like that. Okay. So overall, lots of the ensembles like it bringing into the Caribbean. And then we'll see where it goes after that. Some start to shift it north of the islands, while others keep it south of the blue. But the blue is kind of like the main track. So it's still a big question mark, but keep that in mind as this is one of our system. Now, another stronger signal is one behind it. This has a strong signal for at least becoming a tropical storm, if not a hurricane. Now, many of these ensembles, almost the cone is kind of like this, so to speak. It's a wide cone. Some have it recurving, some have it kind of going and then just suddenly turning north, and then some, actually a fair amount, keep it chugging west-northwest. So it's something to watch. So we have one signal, two signals, and the second one should be seen soon if it continues to show up on models. So something to keep in mind. So those are your ensembles. This is my last thing I want to talk about to you guys today. The MJO pattern. Now, why is the Eastern Pacific about to become really quiet? Why is the Atlantic about to awaken? It's all because of the MJO, Madden-Julian oscillation. So this is our current analysis in this top little chart. And if you haven't seen these before, these green represent rising air, which you need for tropical cyclone development. And then these drier colors represent sinking air, which you don't want. It's unfavorable for tropical storm or tropical cyclone development. Right now, the Eastern Pacific and Atlantic is in this same format, okay? And as we continue this, it stays that way. So even though we're seeing stuff in the Atlantic, it doesn't look too impressive. Now, once you get into around mid-September, that's when it really cranks up. The Eastern Pacific gets a return of rising air, which is going to aid in another bout of activity, while the Atlantic gets some sporadic activity. But once it's like mid, especially late September, Atlantic is on. Game is on. I really, really would advise September 22nd, overall, after September 20th, it's going to get active, okay? Right around peak season, it's going to get very active. I'm calling it right now. I've said it before in my other videos. Rising air is going to come. Conditions are going to become much more favorable. And overall, it's just going to really start ramping up for the Atlantic, while the Pacific gets a quick ramp up and then starts taking another break towards the beginning of October. And same with the Atlantic. But once starts becoming favorable once we get to mid-September, especially after the 2nd, basically, of September. So take a look at this graph. Really, really nice. I love to use this. Same with the Western Pacific season. Right now, lots of rising air, and eventually that will become much more drier. So we will have like some nice systems forming then, forming until around mid-September before taking a little break. And you can almost see the graph like this, okay? And then you have your graph kind of like that, okay? Your migration. In the yellow, here, let's do it. In the pink, you have your drier air, okay? So in your pink, you have your drier air, or your sinking air, and then in the blue, you have your rising air, okay? That's where we really, really start getting our stuff together. I mean, I'll just even just keep it like this. Once you're in this middle zone, right here, it's game on for tropical activity. That's basically the line. So take a picture of this, stop the video if you need to, but a very nice graph to help us predict what's to come in the tropics. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Try to give you everything you need to know for the tropics, and I'll be right back with you guys tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day.